The Fremen are the soul of Arrakis, fierce, free, and unbreakable. But what if their freedom was planted? What if their faith, their legends, their very identity were seeded centuries ago by the Bene Gesserit? Not prophecy, not destiny, but design. History tells us the Fremen came from the Zensunni Wanderers, a people cast out and scattered across distant worlds. Their path eventually brought them to Arrakis, a world few others could survive, let alone call home. And yet the Fremen did more than survive. They adapted, transformed, and claimed the desert as their own. Over time, they developed an intricate culture, spiritual, militaristic, and intensely tied to the land. They believed in a prophecy, a savior, a voice from the outer world who would come to change everything. But this prophecy did not rise naturally from the sands. It was placed there. The Bene Gesserit, masters of genetic manipulation, political infiltration, and religious engineering, were known to operate quietly in the background of history. Through their Missionaria Protectiva, they sowed seeds of belief across countless primitive societies, fragments of myth and ritual designed to be activated when needed. To the sisterhood, religion was a tool, a system of influence, a structure to be shaped, preserved, and used to ensure their survival and extend their reach. Arrakis, with its isolation, its harsh conditions, and its disconnected people, presented a unique opportunity. The Fremen, descended from spiritual exiles and hardened by the unforgiving desert, were exactly the kind of population the Bene Gesserit could mold. Over generations, the sisterhood guided their development indirectly, embedding myths, symbols, and prophecies into the foundation of Fremen culture. All of it designed to await the arrival of a specific kind of figure, someone who would say the right words, do the right things, fulfill the script already buried deep in their collective memory. The sisterhood didn't just plant superstition. They sculpted belief. They knew that in a place like Arrakis, prophecy would grow stronger than law. The desert doesn't forgive. It teaches. And what it teaches, it holds sacred. So the myths held by the Fremen, the coming of the Lisan al-Gaib, the transformation of the planet, the rise of a leader who would unite them, were not coincidental. They were intentional. And the people who believed them had been prepared for generations to act on that belief without hesitation. Into this landscape stepped Paul Atreides, the child of a Bene Gesserit woman who had defied orders. Jessica was told to bear a daughter who would one day be bred into the larger plan, but she chose love. She bore a son, Paul, a generation too early according to the sisterhood's schedule. And yet, when he arrived on Arrakis, everything was already in place. The legends recognized him before the people did. The rituals matched his words. The signs aligned with his presence. The Fremen, who had resisted everything else the universe had thrown at them, opened their arms to him without resistance. They followed him not because of who he was, but because they had already been shaped to expect him. And when he took on the role, he did not hesitate. He did not question. He fulfilled the prophecy because the prophecy was written for someone exactly like him. The Bene Gesserit had meant to guide the future, but they had created something far more dangerous than they intended. They had created a cultural weapon they could no longer control. Paul did not bend to the sisterhood. He did not follow their path. He followed his own, and the Fremen followed him with absolute devotion. What was meant to be a tool for influence became a force that reshaped the galaxy. The sisterhood watched their myth unfold, not in service to their plan, but as a wildfire, sweeping across the stars. The jihad that followed was not theirs to command. It belonged to Paul, and it belonged to the people who had been unknowingly engineered to believe in him. So the question remains, are the Fremen truly the independent, self-made people that history celebrates? Or were they gradually molded across centuries into a culture designed to believe in a leader who would serve someone else's purpose? Is their loyalty born from faith or from programming? Their discipline, their unity, their courage, are these natural outcomes of survival or the result of generations of careful myth-making? Perhaps the greatest achievement of the Bene Gesserit was not the breeding program itself. It was not the creation of Paul. It was the quiet crafting of a people so perfectly shaped to respond to him that when he appeared, their entire civilization moved as if it had always been waiting for his voice. But when that voice spoke, it no longer served them. The sisterhood had written the story, but it was Paul who chose the ending. And the Fremen followed, not so because they were controlled, but because they had been given a destiny they could not resist. And in this universe, belief is never innocent.